Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavelich and Jesse Martineau.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Me and Jesse podcast. My name is Mark Pavelich. Way in the Grove, the bearded wonder, Mr. Jesse Martineau, and our special guest, the return. Wait a second, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you this right now. The return. Oh, my God. The one and only Nick Pelletier. Everybody on the show. Yes. Double bicep. Yeah, what's up?
Fresh off his 106 kilometer swim across Okanagan Lake. Nick, welcome back to the show. Dude. That was incredible. First, before we dive too deeply into this, first thought that goes through your mind thinking back right now. One sentence.
It was unexpected how long we'd have to be out there. Lots of things went wrong, but I like to bring problem solvers into my crew. So
Good.
We combated a lot of things, and just shows what when you put effort out for a long period of time, good things come of it. So
Nick, everybody watching, Nick was on the show a few months ago. This August 1st to 3rd, decided before, but swam the length of Okanagan Lake in Kelowna, British Columbia. 106 kilometer swim, 106. Yes, I said that correctly. And the cool thing is that, you know, this kind of thing being like live streamed for part of it. You had your tracker on that we could follow on the map. It was incredible to watch. And I found as it went on, in all honesty, I know you wanted to do it in about 40 hours, but in all honesty, as it went on, I thought it was even better this way because I was in the Okanagan at the time, and it seemed like the entire Okanagan rallied around you to support you the longer it went.
yeah, for sure. No, it was super cool to see the whole community come together. And yeah, we were planning for going for like 40 hours, 41 hours was my goal. But obviously that didn't happen. We were at the gym or at the bridge around like probably 35 hours of the way in. So it was like lots of things went wrong off the bat, but we had the community and all the people that would come out and like paddle out to me and say, oh, I donated or this and that. And like, as that would grow, my like followers online was growing and more people tune into the live streams and the stories and everything. And my crew just kept telling me, and it was motivating as I was going. So it was super cool to see the support community rallying around it.
Well, Mark, do you think we should just get him to jump into the beginning, like how it started? And
All I know is I didn't sleep for fucking 3 days,
yeah.
okay? I was fucking mental case. I was straight up mental case. I cannot explain to you how weird this was for me. At the age of 55 years old, the crazy shit I've done in my lifetime. I've done so many crazy things. But Nick, you moved me for 3 fucking days. I couldn't sleep. It was bananas. I was like, okay, I brought God into it too at one point because I'm like, make them finish. Because you were on the show and you said, I made it halfway. And I was like, halfway, okay, halfway. And then I saw your training stuff and I'm like, your glitches in your athleticism. Fuck, if I had your athleticism, I'd swim to China. But I said, your athleticism is so superior. I knew that. But there's that little green monster in your head that doesn't work correctly sometimes. And you know what? It was fucking with you the whole time. I saw your eyes. I was watching every video. I couldn't stop watching it. It was must-see TV. I don't know what we're going to do, Nick, but you have to be way bigger. And I know that's not your vocation in life because you're living in a bus and you're like, you know, whatever. But as a human being, to motivate people, if you can motivate an old fucker like me at 55 years old, literally when I was watching you, I was losing my mind. My wife's like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, I can't get off this. Like he has to go all the way. I don't care how you get there, but get all the way. And I kept seeing you in the water and I'm like, oh, the little green monster's crawling in right about now. But you kept saying, no, not today, man, not today. And you kept going. And I understand it. But like I said, people with your mentality and people with your kind of like way of life, I don't want you not to be rewarded for doing this stuff. I think you should be. Let alone you should be speaking in front of people. You should be doing everything possible. Let alone I don't know what you're going to do next, but the Me and Jesse podcast will be part of that. Sorry about the long rant, but that's one minuscule amount of what I felt watching it for 3 to 4 days. I'm not joking. It was nuts.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Like, I've got a lot of feedback from people saying, like, oh, I didn't know what to do the week after. Like, I was looking online for stuff and, like, oh, it was like better than Netflix, better than anything watching it.
Yeah.
So
100%
Dude, my
it
kids,
was.
like I had all my kids and young. The youngest was 10 years old, and he was like putting it on his computer, the link, and checking on you like all day long. They'd be like, "Oh, he's right over here now," and it was incredible. Like, and you know, I guess the moment that really stuck out for me watching it was, well, the end was really awesome, but the when you're swimming at night past, I think it was a camp, and they're all came out to the dock and they're all cheering.
That was
like,
nuts.
Man, I friggin' choked up because I was like, that is incredible. Did you ever think in that moment there that, you know, at the beginning, did you think that people would rally around it like that?
Yeah, I mean, I knew I'd have support from friends, family, and like the people that followed me online. I got a few more followers just because of some social media reels and stuff right before, but it's really cool in the Okanagan, like, especially if you're like, I was raising funds for CMHA Kelowna, which is mental health, and it's a local charity. So even like people knew about that and they were sending it to their friends and family, and then their friends are like, oh, like, I got a paddle board, like, he's going by my house, like, where is he on the tracker? Oh, he's a couple hours away. And then they just like come out, right? And people are out there playing like Rocky off their boat speakers and like doing all sorts of stuff. But yeah, going by that camp was really like surreal to me, going by and seeing like 100, 200 kids and camp counselors and everything yelling like, go Nick, go Nick. And like going into what ended up being the toughest part of the swim was like big motivation right before. So it was, it was super cool to see everybody, and can't thank everybody enough for the support raised. And yeah.
Okay, well, let's go back to the beginning then. So you get in the north end of the lake early in the morning on that first day. What's in your mind stepping into the water that time?
And we were going for a 4 a.m. start, and just the way things always go, they take a little bit longer. So we got started around, I think it was 5:18 was our go time. You know who I was thinking of on that start line? I was thinking of what you said there. He's going to know when he's standing there if he's going to do it or not. And I was thinking, like, this time it definitely felt different. I've had like 3 years, or like a 4-year project total, but 2 attempts prior. And it's been 3 years up until that point. And I was just like imagining all those other times I had started standing there, and I said, this is the last fucking time I'm standing here and starting. So got in, jumped into the mucky cow shit and E. coli filled water, and started wading my way
really
through
strong,
it.
It looked like.
What's that?
You started off really strong, it looked like.
Yeah, we got in, and it was that first 13 kilometers, it's on like a kind of a sheltered arm, and comes with the mountains and everything. It's sheltered, so it's super calm on that first stretch. So that's kind of like just getting the crew used to the kayaks and me and pacing and everything. So it's actually nice. It's usually pretty calm there. The sunrise is coming up and everything, so it's kind of just like getting your feet wet. But it's almost the way I like to think of it is, when you start, you have a lot of motivation and you have no momentum, right? Because you haven't started yet.
Yeah.
And as you go further on in a challenge, your motivation goes down, down, and down, because you're getting tired, things are going wrong, but your momentum gets higher and higher. So you use them as a yin and a yang as you're going. But yeah, when you first start, it's like 1 hour in, 2 hours in. Okay, I've done a 6K swim, which is like a normal average, like a little training day, like 2 hours, and then you still have 100 kilometers to go. It's like, oh baby, here we go, just getting our feet wet. Like, let's go.
When was the first sign that, I'm hitting something here?
So we cruised through that first 13-kilometer stretch, all good. I did shift for my crew in 8-hour time blocks. So they would come out with a different boat and swap the crew and then leave every 8 hours. Some people stayed on the whole time, like my crew chief, my dad, a few people. But we were probably around, our first crew change was around 8 hours in. I think I was like 26-ish kilometers. So I was like cruising well over record pace. Everything was going great. And just within like 1 hour, my shoulder that I thought was going to give out, that I gave out last time, was fine. And the shoulder I didn't think was going to give out started to get impingements. And like I couldn't lift it on the catch. So pulling, and like it was up here already, I could pull through like this, but it was the lifting it part I couldn't do. So then we switched to backstroke, because like before, when that happened in my previous attempts, I knew it could be a possibility, but I never practiced like legitimately other strokes. So this past 2 years of training, I obviously learned from those experiences. I practiced a bunch of different strokes. So immediately I just thought, okay, let's just try some different things. Tried backstroke. Backstroke didn't hurt. Just like, okay, we're just going to do this for a while. Like maybe it'll settle down or something. We ended up doing that for 10 kilometers, but
Jesus, good for 10K.
Yeah, but at the time I was like, backstroke had really slowed us down to almost just over 1 kilometer an hour, when before I was going 3K an hour. So making ground, but really then your reality becomes, if you can't do a front crawl, this swim that was supposed to be 40 hours is turning into 106-hour swim, right? And then everything changes. So I remember one of my crew members, like one of my best friends, Ken, he was like, man, you sure there's no other fucking stroke you can do? Like, come on, man. That just pissed me off. I'm like, oh, you bastard. Like, I'm going to figure something out. So I started like, I called it my T-Rex stroke. So this arm would work normal, and this arm, it couldn't lift like this, but I could slide it through the water, and I could bend it like this, and I would pull with my lat, so the big muscles in my back. So I just slide through water, pull, and it never had to really leave the water. So this arm would go up, and this arm would go through. So it was like this.
Yeah.
And it started working. I got back up to 3 kilometers an hour. So
wow.
I was like, yeah, no swim coach would ever teach you to do that, but
you're desperate.
It's working. And yeah, when you're in these things, like the only thing that matters is the task at hand and finding a way forward, right? You want to be solution oriented, not problem focused, right?
So did that last the whole time? Like you couldn't lift this way?
It lasted for quite a while. It kind of like switched a bit. I would get a little more range of motion, so I could like punch into the water, but that right arm was like pretty bad for the whole thing. It's hard to kind of tell on camera and stuff, but there's a big difference even just from like lifting it out of the water and going in, or like just skimming over the water. Like
did you see anything weird
in the water?
Yeah, no, I know you were hallucinating at one point.
Oh yeah.
But for sure, the little green monsters. But did you see anything weird?
Like real things in the water?
Like did you thought were real? We'll talk about your hallucinations too. Yeah. I want to talk about that. But what did you see anything specifically and say that was real?
Like my hallucinations definitely felt real, but I mean, when you get into the shallower waters by some houses, you see some fish and buoys, things like that. But definitely like being an endurance athlete and having pushed myself to the place where you do get hallucinations, I experience those throughout, and they obviously feel real in the moment. And then like I'm still cognitively there though, and you think like that can't be what that is, and you take a better look at it and realize no, that's not a chicken or a beaver or something like. So your brain just gets lazy, and it kind of takes the easiest path of resistance to what it thinks that something could be. So, but I mean, like I was there like cognitively the whole time.
Wow.
Even at the end, having given like a speech when I finished and stuff, and people were pretty surprised that I was still like there. But when you're on the crew and you're seeing me so tired and stuff, my body language can be different than what I'm actually feeling. It's just I don't have the like strength to act like I'm not. Right. Like if I'm feeling like shit, I'm going to feel like shit. Like I don't have the strength to bullshit it, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah, I could be feeling a bit different than what my body language is showing, but it's part of your crew being able to read you and being honest with them and everything. So
take us to the toughest moment that you had that maybe you didn't, tell your crew right away, but as you're swimming, you remember that moment. What happened in that moment in your head, and what were you saying to yourself?
Yeah, so I think it kind of started. We got through the first night, which is something I've never done before, which is super cool. and I had never made it that far before, which was super motivating. So getting like that sun up that day was awesome, and going into the bridge. But that's where I was seeing all these hallucinations.
Yeah.
And like I've seen them a bunch in other runs I've done where I paddle the lake and things. And I always think it's like, it's almost kind of cool that you've worked so hard that you're at the spot where you've earned these hallucinations, is the way I look at it.
Yeah,
Many people
I agree.
probably look at it different, but
Yeah.
I think it's kind of cool. And obviously, like, you want to be safe with things, but it's like I'm cognitively there. My body function is fine. It's just my brain is playing some tricks on me. So I was seeing some things, and I remember telling some buddies, and like, oh man, I'm losing it, just like kind of joking. But they would relay that to the boat, and then they get concerned over me, right? So we had a conversation at one point, and after that, I just didn't stop seeing things, but I stopped telling people I was seeing things. So, because I didn't want a reason like that for my crew who might not understand it to have a justify that as pulling me from the water when I know myself, and that's not a reason to leave, right? So, but going through the bridge, I was super fired up, seeing all the people up top and everything, like, psyched me up, and it was awesome. But at that moment in time, I had been apparently portraying bad body language the whole lead up to there. And my crew, everybody was saying, like, he's made it this far. Like, it's been almost as long as the swim was planned for, and we're only halfway.
Yeah.
So I think, like, we're going to call it here. And I remember my dad, because he was the one who...
he would be the one, right, Nick? He would be the one that could succeed even you, or no?
So my crew chief wasn't my dad. It was Jackson. But Jackson was relaying these worries about my health and everything to my dad. And my dad was like, I'll be the one to talk to him. And so we had a candid conversation that I was caught so off guard by, because I was fired up thinking about my goal in Penticton. And I'm halfway here now, and I'm getting all this motivation and energy. And then we pulled up, and he said, hey, Nick, I think we're going to pull up so we're away from the people, and we're going to call it. I said, what? I call what? And he's like, the swim. I'm like, no, we're not calling it. Like, if you guys don't want to stay, I have people who will stay with me. And right then and there, my dad's knew. He had to talk with Jackson, the crew, and like hear their concerns and talk to me. But he was even saying in his mind, he's like, I knew he wasn't going to quit. And that just confirmed it to me. So I'm 100% going to do whatever it takes to make sure you get there now.
So, but Nick, don't you think that you were at a point maybe, and I know this is going to sound weird for some people listening at home, did you cross the line of like, okay, if I die, I die?
Yeah, of course.
No, I'm not trying to, like, I know people at home, like, they're all doing the flex thing and thinking that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that. You do. I'm telling you, like, a person like you has to have that discussion. Like, you're in the water somewhere, 68 kilometers down the road, and you're thinking to yourself, well, fuck it. If I die, I die. What a way to die, like, but I'm not going to die. Right. So you put that in the back of your mind. Right. And it's not saying you want to die. It's just, it's in your head that, I could die and I'm okay with it. Like, it's not gonna, like, I could get hit by a bus, you know what I mean? But this is different. Am I right by saying this or no?
Yeah. I mean, like, I do these things for a reason, and I put myself in positions to be best prepared not to. But Correct. If I justify something worth my life, like, this is what I want to do in my life, and I'm going to do everything in my power not to have that happen.
Of course.
Yeah. And, but you do have to go to a different mindset. It's like going into UFC fighters going into the cage, right? Like, they're there to make sure the other person doesn't leave, and they're willing to put everything on the line. And I talk about the bridge and this kind of talk with my dad and everybody, because later on that night, everything like was a bit better pacing going into the night. We went by that camp, and then we go into the dark, crossing over to Rattlesnake. And this was the toughest part of the swim. We had no landmarks to sight off. Everything's pitch black. There's a current going against me. So every time I would go in the water and stop, I get pushed back. And we're getting to the point where, like, going the way we're going, we're not making any grounds. We have to go more north and then over. And I'm arguing with my crew saying, hey, I've done this before. I know, but I'm not the one looking at the map. They're saying, trust me. And we're arguing back and forth. And, like, I'm being a stubborn bastard like I am. And I'm just, like, arguing. Anyways, we get through that night and everything. But that was definitely the most, like, turmoil we had within the crew and everything.
Okay.
But then even the next day, because now we're getting into 50, 60, 70 hours of swimming, and there was concern from the crew that we had to, like my crew, I had set up to 50 hours, and I had people on standby, but I really hadn't had people like ready, like organized, because nobody would have thought it went this long, right?
Of course.
So again, my crew is kind of scrambling to bring people together, and that's when we started thinking like we're few on the crew, and people-wise pretty thin, and then the thing as far as medical, we had some doctors that were like calling the crew and saying like, you guys should probably be worried about him falling asleep and drowning. And then that got into our crew's head, and they're all kind of worried about me drowning, and they're thinking, well, like, should we call it? Even though he's doing all right, should we call it like before something happens? I think that's the point when you talk about the dying and stuff. It's like people who are looking out for your best interest, who this isn't their goal, they're going to pull it before
100%.
you get to that
You're
point,
ready.
because they don't
100%.
want morality on their mind. They let you die, and they
Correct.
don't want their friend, family, son to die, right? But that talk that I had with my dad at the bridge, as soon as he knew that I was going, he was the one that was saying to everybody else on the crew, hey, you guys can stay with us, whatever, but I'm taking my son to Penticton. And like, we've done this ride. Him and I did that same second stretch, the 50K, 2 years prior in a kayak, just him and I. Hottest day in Kelowna's history, 46 degrees. My dad was in a kayak for 18 hours, just me and him. So like, we know what we can do at this point. We've made it there. We've done it before. He told them, I'm taking my son to Penticton, and like, you can stay or you can go. And obviously the crew's like, we're not leaving, of course. Yeah. But at that point, it's like,
they needed someone to relinquish control, right? So once your dad says, okay, I got my son, then it's okay. Then it's not on us. You know what I mean? Because when your dad stands up and says, okay, we're going, that's it.
I remember that moment, that because the bridge was technically around halfway-ish. So I remember them saying on social media, and you didn't see this maybe after, but they were like, we're looking at the bridge. It was kind of like, hey, we're gonna go to the bridge, and that'll be good, and it'll be proud because it's further than he's ever went. And so people are starting to think like, oh, he'll get to the bridge, and great, that's awesome, it's amazing. But after the next story must have been after the conversation. It was great hearing this. The next story was, he's going. He's still going. Our boy's going. And you could see that there was a resurgence of something that took place in you. Talk about your father. Like, I want to jump into your dad here for a minute. Tell us about him and the relationship that you have and what that means to you.
Yeah, I mean, my dad and mom, like, they support everything I've ever done, right? Like, my dad is leaving tomorrow to go to Spain to race in the World Championships for triathlon. He's 75 years old. Like, he's still a savage. He's like the person I'd trust out there beyond anybody, right? And he's just got a very stand-up way of doing things. And like, I've proven to my dad and my family that they can trust me in the things I do, whether that be cycling across Mexico solo, whether that be skydiving, whether that be any of the things I've done. They see the preparation I put in, the logistical work, the training, the mental skills, everything, right? So when I tell my dad, this is my goal, and this is the goal that I'm willing to put my life on the line for. And it sounds silly to people that like, oh, you could die swimming when you have all these people around here and there. But like, if you're face down and you start sleeping, like, immediately your body's going to inhale, you can drown like that, right? Yep. Or your levels can be off. You could have rhabdomyolysis, you can have this, that, kidney failure, everything, right? And it's like understanding these risks, but it's almost having people that are a little bit risk averse, like they're willing to risk things themselves, or they understand risk, I should say. So like my dad, knowing the risks of taking me further, obviously, but also knowing that taking me out of the water, the mental strain, torment, everything that would have on me for the years to come, of taking me out before I even got to the point where I can't go. In years prior, I got to the point where my back was completely lost all the skin on my back. I was hypothermic in the water. I couldn't breathe. I've even watched footage back. It was like he called it on the previous attempts. It's like looking at me there and seeing like, no, he's not going. But now this attempt, him getting behind me and saying like, no, I know my son, we're going. And so like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, he's always been he's got tons of experience in wilderness guiding and everything. So I trust my dad with my life, and yeah. So
I remember that night though. You said going past, and people know Kelowna well. There's like an island called Rattlesnake Island. I remember it was like into the night, and it was so dark because there's no lights really down there. There's no cities down at that end, and you're like, holy moly! And we didn't hear anything until the morning.
Yeah, we thought, what's funny, Nick, the way it sounded on social media, I went to bed and at some weird hour, and I woke up early, and I was expecting you to be done. And I was so weirded out because I'm like, fuck, he didn't make it. Like, I just felt it. Like, I was like, no, he has the ability. And then you were still going. Bro, I lost my shit. I'm like by myself in my house. I'm screaming and yelling at the fucking screen going, I don't want to say it here, but I was yelling and screaming and you were still going, and I was losing it. I was absolutely losing it. How this is, like you said earlier, how this is not a Netflix special, I don't know, because this was a 3-day, I was losing my shit. And when I saw you that you were still going, I was like, oh my God, it was like like a rush like I haven't had, I can't remember since, because you kept going, because you do have the athletic ability. And that the scary part is the question I'm going to ask next, what's next? Because I know after this buzz wears out with you, you're going to be like, oh shit, let me bike across this, or let me jump from this, or so what is the next thing?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest question I always get. I think with somebody like me, I think this is a lot of people, especially like business people or people who start companies or athletes. It's always like you really are goal motivated, but process oriented. Following this process of getting to that point is like the journey and the reward in itself. I remember having this image of going in Penticton and like pulling up on the shore and having my friends and family there and being like the best moment of my life. And guess what? Like that happened, and I banged out push-ups at the end and got fired up and was just coming out of the water. And that was the best moment of my life. Having 4 years of failure and then all this coming together finally to be a success was like the best moment of my life. But then as soon as that's done, it's like, oh man, I just finished that. Like, I didn't even know that was possible. And it's like,
yeah,
that now was my bar here. If I make that my baseline, where can I go? Right. So it's like,
that's the messed up part. Yeah.
So it's always like, always thinking about what's next. Obviously I enjoyed this one with my friends and family, and I've had some time to heal up, had some injuries and stuff, but it's really at the point I'm at, I want to do, because we raised $42,000 for charity as well. So I want to do projects where I have a big impact on people, but I also want to do it where it's my goal in the ultra like space is to have 3 worlds first by the time I'm done. One in cycling, one in swimming, one in running. Yeah. So whether that be a long form like day after day expeditions similar to my America or Mexico ride, just on a lot bigger scale, where you do it for the day, get a little rest at night, and do it day after day after day.
Yeah.
Or if it's similar to this swim where it's like something like what Ross Edgley's going for, it's the longest swim in human history, where it's like going for 180K straight, which would be up around 100 hours or somewhere in that range, right? So it's trying to figure out what's next as far as that, and as far as getting sponsorships for all these things, because these things, once you get on a bigger scale, become more and more money to fund and logistical wise and everything. And so I'm just at the point now weighing a lot of options and trying to decide if I want to commit my life for the next while to running, cycling, or swimming. But when it's all said and done, I'm going to have some pretty cool experiences. So
absolutely. Jeez, man. Well, Nick, I again, like, it was amazing to watch. It's amazing to see you do what you did, and congratulations. Any lasting injuries that you're?
No, like not a lot of people knew, but when I went into this swim, I actually had a fracture in my femur. I had an injury last year that I was dealing with, that I've been dealing with all this year. So that's kind of the reason I was swimming so much as well, is because I couldn't run or cycle.
Yeah, no impact.
Which kind of helped me out. Yeah, but I've been just getting that all recovered and everything. But my ankle of all things was like the thing that got injured the worst because of all the treading water while you're trying to eat and your legs are just treading. And it's just like thousands and hundreds of thousands of repetitions over 3 days straight, right? So my ankle's a little busted. I had burnt lips, looked I had some disease on my lips, had my shoulder was injured, but it came back. Like I got it worked on, and I don't know what it is.
What are you in the States? You're in the States right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm visiting family in the States right now, just for a week. So in Maine right now. And but yeah, I mean, like, body feels relatively good, so it's just building up a base for what's next.
Do they know, does your family know how the Me and Jesse podcast looks at you and how big we think you are and how big we think you should become and how you should, I like Ross in Australia too, right? You brought him up on the show.
Yeah.
I think I don't want to say this on the show because he looks like a big tough guy, right? But what I'm trying to tell you is I think that you have this, like, your mentality might even go past him. As Canadians, we don't do that. As Canadians, we always want to be like, oh, namaste, and we don't want to boost shit up too much because it's just not our nature. But I think that's the problem, Nick. I think that you have everything it takes to be him 2.0. And I'm not saying, I want you to jump in the water and swim 180 K. I think what makes you more entertaining than him is I think you do like multiple different shit, like jumping out of planes, biking, swimming, kayaking. There's such a you're like to me, there's more to you. No offense to him, but I think there's more branches to you than there is to him. And he doesn't care about not flexing. He likes to flex and he wants you to watch him. You are a little bit more Canadian and you kind of downplay it. Thank God you're on the Me and Jesse podcast and we won't allow you to do that because we want you. We want that. We want the push-ups after 106 kilometers swim. We want that. We want the jumping out of the plane and turning backwards and, going like this on the way down, that's what we want, but that's what's going to take you to the next level. I mean, athleticism wise, you got it now and mentally you got it now. So, now it's time to have fun, but at the same time, as I tell all Canadians, shame on you if you're not giving a Nick Pelletier, and the website will be everywhere. He does need money to continue on this journey. This is not a free thing. Like it takes money to make this thing happen. And in America, they stand by all their athletes and they just filter them with money from all angles of the world. But in Canada, not so much. But thank God for the Me and Jesse podcast because we call all those people out.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on too. But yeah, I mean, touching on like Ross and them quick, I think I have obviously tons of like inspiration and these people that I look up to, but I think it is just taking parts of each person. Like I do look up to Goggins, like David Goggins and stuff, but there's some things that I might not agree with him or like same. So I think it's picking and pulling from each person. Correct. And I obviously hold them all high standard. And I used to think they're like untouchable beings. But now doing some things that are getting like into the same similar conversation, not saying I've done what they've done yet, but I'm going to be doing that. And those are people who I want to be talked about with and competing against and like even collaborating with and like doing things together. So those are people I hold like high standard and I just want to continue on this path. And I do appreciate even like Backscape helping me out with, supporting the swim and like that was a huge help for us and I hope you guys got some return on it as well. But yeah, man, we're the biggest thing. You had talked about Netflix and me and TMS Productions who have filmed it for the past 4 years, and then you should see this footage. Oh my gosh, we got everything. So we're putting together a documentary. It's called Sink or Swim. It'll probably be out next summer sometime because it takes a long time to put together. But yeah, we are still looking.
I can't wait to go to the film festival in Banff and the one in Cannes when you make it there, because I look great in a tuxedo. And so we will make our way to the film festival because I like the days of you doing it alone were so moving. I couldn't even imagine what a documentary of this would look like. Like I can't even fathom because like I'm not easily entertained. It's very hard. So when you were entertaining like that, I'm like, wow. These guys don't know what I know because this should be way bigger.
And the cool thing about it is you guys have seen this past attempt and we have 3 years of that,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
So stuff you guys
Yeah, that's
haven't
the
even
build up
seen
to that.
yet.
Oh, it's
So,
nuts. I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Oh,
called Sink or Swim, right?
Yep. Yep.
Oh my God.
Have you guys
I
talked to
can't
Netflix?
wait.
Is that going to be Netflix?
Yeah, we're trying to talk with streaming services right now. So yeah, it's just also about getting the funding right now to put the thing together. So we're working on that. We're going to release like a teaser trailer probably within the next month or so, and then hopefully more funding comes in for that. But yeah, the goals are definitely Netflix, Amazon.
One thing
Prime,
great about our
things like that.
country is, Nick, there's a lot of grants available for things like that, and a ton of grants available for documentaries made in Canada.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're definitely looking at all options, and yeah, but again, really appreciate all the support from you guys and helping me get my name out there and helping me Backscape with the swim and everything. So yeah, it's been awesome.
Thanks so much, man. Like, we appreciate it. We appreciate you. It was awesome to watch. It was amazing to see you do the push-ups on the beach.
Buddy, he popped the champagne like that. I can't even do that
yeah.
shit when I don't swim,
It
right?
was awesome, dude.
It's awesome.
Oh, but you finish it off. You got to celebrate now.
Yeah,
Come
That's
on.
right.
man.
That's right.
Only one way to
100%
do it.
correct.
That's right.
But,
Well, everybody,
yeah,
you can
guys.
follow Nick on all social media, and then nickpelletier.com.
Yeah.
.ca.
yeah, nickpelletier.ca.
Yeah.
NP Venture on Instagram.
And
That's right.
make sure you follow him, and then keep going, because I mean, hey, this is the early days of what Nick's gonna do in his
I
career.
agree.
And David Goggins, well, yeah, we'll remember his name, but we're gonna remember Nick's name too. So
That's right.
keep going, bro, and we're behind you 100%.
Oh yeah, we're just getting started, boys. Let's go.
Right on.
We'll be
Thanks
right
so
back.
much, Nick.
We'll be right back, everybody, on the Me and
thanks,
Jesse
guys.
podcast.
Introducing Backscape, the superhero of back hair removal.
Hey there, I'm in Backscape World Headquarters. My name is Baxter Archibald Kingscape, spokesperson here at Backscape. And I know why you're here. Either you or someone you know has one hairy back, and you're trying to get rid of it.
We understand the struggle with unruly back hair. In fact, 77% of women agree. It's not the ideal look. But don't worry, we're here to help you reach your smoothest potential. We've built Backscape to tame that wild back jungle in minutes. Our mission is to empower every man to feel his best, look his best, and help him reach his smoothest potential.
Backscape gives you the confidence whether you're at the pool, the beach, hey, anywhere you go. You can stay smooth all year long.
Our patented technology ensures the smoothest, most comfortable, and close shave every time.
We believe in something else here at Backscape, and that's how you feel about us. Our customer service is the best. Hey, even if you need relationship advice, our customer service agents are that good.
We're so confident that you'll love the Backscape experience that we offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can try Backscape risk-free. When you choose Backscape, you're gaining a friend. We're here for you, guiding you on your smooth journey to a smoother, more confident you.
You know, being smooth in today's world is a commodity. I used to look like this, but after Backscape, you can see what you're dealing with.
You can make
Nick Pelletier, everybody, the endurance athlete, truly incredible. His 104, 106 kilometers swim.
across down
106
Okanagan Lake. Jeez,
Yeah,
man.
and we
You know,
can't wait to see what he's going to do next. But we'll put all his social media on this. This segment of the show was brought to you by Backscape, yeah, and he's also sponsored by Backscape too, which is really cool. Really cool.
Well, dude, like, Sunday to Sunday, a lot of things change in the week in the NFL, don't they?
They sure do. I mean, Raiders look like the Raiders, and Seattle looked good last week.
That was
and
scary, but it was
I hate
fun.
to say it. I hate to say it on the show, but there's tiers to this league. There's tiers now,
Yes,
and
there
there's clear tiers, and we have tier 1A. 1A is Buffalo Bills, KC, Dallas Cowboys.
Oof, that must have hurt to
Yeah,
say.
I had to say it, bro. It is what it is, right? And you have those tiers there, right? And then you have this other tier that falls underneath that, right? And that's another tier. Then you have the tiers like the Raiders. They fall in the next tier where they'll beat teams like Denver, maybe even the Steelers.
Oh yeah, the
You
Steelers,
know
they're the bottom
what?
tier now. Steelers in bottom tier now, I would say.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. They'll beat those teams.
Yeah.
So the Raiders will finish like 8-9, 9-8, you know, because they'll beat those teams, but they won't beat the top tier teams. They won't even compete with the top tier teams, and no one's going to compete with the top tier teams. KC is no longer in the 1A category. They're in the 1B category because they literally lost the first week to the Lions and then barely squeaked one out against the Jags.
Yeah, it's
okay.
interesting, isn't it?
There's some kind of weird hangover thing going on over there. And you know what usually happens after the hangover thing? Nothing. Usually you don't come back after the hangover in any sport, whether it be NHL, Major League Baseball. It's usually like that's kind of your turn is over. And then what happens is teams like the Lions that are kind of coming up the chute. And then you look at Seattle last week, putting it on the Lions.
Well, they went to OT. I mean, it was close.
Yeah, but still though, right? Like
I just
the
think
Lions
it says something about the Lions. Like the Lions
it does.
have like come around.
It does.
They
yeah,
really
but
have.
like, see, the Lions, they're competitive. And what I noticed about my Raiders last week is like after week 1, I was really happy with the opening drive. I was ecstatic. They look absolutely flawless in the opening round. They look great in the first kind of quarter and a half, and then the wheels fell off drastically. The defense is soft as shit. Max Crosby's Max Crosby, but the rest of the defense is soft. You got Garoppolo's not the liability in this issue at all. Like he had 2 interceptions and he didn't throw one of them. So he had 2 interceptions on a tip ball and another tip ball, which means your fucking receivers need to put some stickum on their hands or whatever they need to put on their mitts to catch the ball. And listen, you know what? Can we talk about the greatest coach right now in the greatest coach right now in the present day history? That should, if I was me tomorrow, I would get rid of McDaniels because he's dog shit.
Wow.
And I would listen. And you know who's the greatest coach going right now? We all know it's Deion Sanders. And I'm telling you,
Is he ready for the NFL though? That's the thing.
No, he can't do his formula can't work in the just like Saban's didn't work in the NFL. These guys are made for college football and they can't coach it. You imagine if Deion Sanders coaches the Raiders and he walks in and tells everybody there's a dress code, they're going to tell him, go to the players union, man. We're not going to wear a suit and coat and tie. You know what's funny? I saw the speech yesterday Deion Sanders said to his players when they first got there. He said, I want half of you to apply for the college athlete portal that you are going to leave this university. I'm going to make you leave this team. I was like, oh my, that was the guy's opening speech, Jesse.
Jeez,
you know why? Because he told people there's going to be a dress code. You're not going to be late. You're going to sit at the front of the class when you go to school. I don't give a shit what everybody else does, but we were 1-11 last year, and that's not going to happen on my watch. Now, I don't know about you, but if I owned an NFL team, okay, and I know there's player unions and all that other bullshit, but you know what I want to know is if I own the Raiders and he came in and said to my team, you have to, because if you've ever watched, Jesse, what some of these players look like when they come in, they look like homeless people.
Yeah.
They're making $20 million a year and they think they're shooting a rap video on their way into it's ridiculous. If he walked in and said, no, you guys all got to wear suits and ties with Raider shit on it, whatever it is, you got to walk in like that. We're going to be in unison on everything. That's how we're going to roll. And we're going to win 14 games, 12 games, 13 games. Would you buy into that system? Well, you know what? Colorado Buffaloes bought into it. They're 3-0 and ranked in the top 16 in the country after being 1-11.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
wake up,
he's taking
people.
the Urban Meyer approach too. Like, and he's just like, hey, we're going to make this militaristic in the way that the only way that this is going to work is if you follow our commands. And again, like making it a well-oiled machine. And that's exactly what they do, but not just on the field. It's off the field. And I think that's important too to understand. And even talking with Nick, it's in the water. Yeah, there's that. But all that stuff off the out of the water, all the stuff off the field led up to him and his dad having that conversation at the bridge that said, we're going to finish. We're walking out in Penticton. And I think that's what Deion Sanders is doing in Colorado. It's all the things off the field. And we're having this conversation right now, guys. Half of you aren't going to make this because here it is. Here's where it's going to happen and it ain't going to change. the bridge is here and Penticton's down there, and that isn't going to shift. We have to be the ones that shift. And again, like you see it, and again, I hope they do really, really well, and I hope that the guys that come out of that program, when it's come to draft day, I hope they have the highest draft class there ever is, because it's one of those things.
Jesse, what about this one? The players that left, okay, that was the funny part. The players that left, they left, right? Did you see how many guys wanted to come there? Like it was like mounds of people, because the guys that knew about there's this 3-letter thing called the NFL that Deion Sanders doesn't care. Do you know what his son drives to school in right now? Deion Sanders' son, the quarterback, because they have that NIL thing now in the college where you can make some money, right? He drives a Maybach SUV to school every day because it's paid, because he is doing endorsement deals now in college. You imagine that? He's in college driving a Maybach right now to school every day because he's making money, like doing this deal that they're allowed to do. You know what's funny? Deion says, you think I'm getting my kid ready for college football? I'm getting him ready to win the Heisman. Then I'm getting him ready to be in the first pick in the NFL draft. You don't think right now, the way this kid's playing, that he's going to be the number 1 draft pick in the NFL? You want to talk about that right now in the Me and Jesse podcast? Do you want to talk about how being disciplined and how everybody in this fucking world like is so woke and everybody doesn't want to do this and they don't? Oh, I don't want to do that. Just like the American right now. I'm going to switch around here because I'm on tilt. Just like the American golf team that's going to play Europe in about a few weeks here in the Ryder Cup. Don't be surprised if Europe runs them over. Because you know why? Because these fucking guys went in and said, we're going to pick our team. Yeah, okay. We'll let one of the guys from Liv come. We'll let Koepka come, but we won't take Dustin Johnson, the killer. We won't take him on the team. No, we're going to put Justin Thompson, our buddy right now that can't even break 80 right now, the way he's playing. And we're going to put him on the team. Guess what's funny? You're going to see how funny this is when Europe runs them over when they play in the Ryder Cup in Italy, and everybody goes, oh, shit. You know why? Because those Europeans sure find a way to get along all together. And you know what? They got the best players playing on their team, but not in America. We want to have our friends play on our team until you lose. And when you lose, that's when the shit hits the fan everywhere, whether you're in Canada, United States, Poland, I don't care where you are. Losing is losing. And United States, because they want to play the little buddy system instead of putting the best golfers in the world on that team, you're in big trouble. And you know what? Deion Sanders is doing the same thing. His son is the safety on the team, starting safety. His other son is the starting quarterback on the team. They said when he was at Jackson State, they're like, oh, he's going to have a hard time at Buffalo. The kid in his first game doubled his highest ever passing yards like that. The next game wins it again. The next game wins them in overtime, throws darts just like bang, 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 bang. And everybody's sitting around going, I wonder if this way works. A little bit of discipline, a little bit of like, you have to be accountable for shit.
Absolutely.
But you know what? But you know what's happening right now? And I think it's happening in Dallas, Texas. I think in Dallas, Texas, all of a sudden you see them super organized, not getting penalties, all together, getting that Dallas, remember that old school Dallas, not arrogance, but that Dallas, like found that swagger. Dude. That's it, Jesse. They're getting that swagger back in Dallas. And you know how much I hate the Cowboys, but when I don't give a shit, I give props to anybody that does it right. And I'm giving them props right now because they're doing it right. And I can't believe that you can't see that in the rest of the NFL, that you don't want to start putting things a little more military, a little more, let's put that shit like we're running this way together. Okay. I see the way people are coming in dressed. That's a mentality. Deion Sanders makes every one of his guys wear a tie. You have 3 choices, what tie to wear, what color, but you're wearing a suit and tie to the games. I don't give a shit. Pull your pants up. You're not going to hang your pants down. That's not how we act. We act like professional athletes. And when you get to the NFL, hopefully you carry on what I taught you.
Dude, it's true. I think that the discipline part of things is absolutely lacking in most professional sports. College game,
everywhere, school, everywhere.
Well, again,
now.
but like you look at the pro sports, and that's supposed to be the height. It's supposed to be the thing where you don't have to deal with that. because everyone's committed. But we've seen the opposite. And that's why the college game for me, and especially in football, is so big, because that commitment has to be there. And those coaches you just don't come play here anymore. There's no contract.
You can
There's
leave.
No,
You can leave.
You're off the team. And again, man, how much would pro sports benefit from that? The problem is, you get things in there, and I agree that there's benefits of a players union and stuff like that. Absolutely, of course there is. But that being said, when you say no to the way a program's being run, that's a problem. And anyone that you see greatness, like the New England Patriots and stuff like that, like there is discipline involved, and there has to be. If you want to be great at anything, there has to be discipline involved.
Ask Tom Brady how Belichick. Ask Tom Brady how Belichick talked to him.
What I mean.
Ask him. But those 7 rings that he owns, or 6 rings, that's due to Bill Belichick. And so you can say whatever you want about Bill Belichick, but that's how it happens. That's how it's done. And then when it's done like that, you win. When listen to me when I tell you this, the Raiders will never win the Super Bowl as long as that idiot owns the team. Okay, that idiot's dad, Al Davis, is rolling in his grave right now because he left it to his donkey son that has no clue how to run a football team. His father, Al Davis, who I love with all my heart, is literally rolling in his grave as we speak because his idiot son doesn't know how to run the team. You have to listen. You know what happens in professional sports, Jesse? You got to hurt some people's feelings. Okay, this is no longer everybody wins. You get a participation ribbon. That shit's over, man. This is the NFL. It's doggy dog, and if you can't go along that line, you're not going to make it. That's why they invented the CFL. You can go there, and if you don't like that, you can go to the USFL or the whatever they want to come up with next. But you're not playing in the NFL. And the teams that are successful, listen, you know what's funny? No matter how much you want to talk shit about Pete Carroll, oh, he's old, still winning, still winning. How is that? Andy Reid, old guy. Oh, he doesn't know what he's doing. Does that look like a guy that doesn't want a little discipline in his dressing room? Yeah. Still winning, but we want to look at these new coaches like McDaniels and all these other guys. They ain't doing shit, because they're letting the players run the team, and that never worked anywhere. Since when did that ever work?
Well, it's one of those things, and I really do think that it's going to separate the teams in the NFL this year. The teams that have actual true discipline are to be the ones that rise to the top at the end of this 100%. Season. It's a really weird year. It's a really weird start to the year for me. And so I'm thinking like, hey man, like first team that actually steps up and like disciplines himself to take that next step is going to be the one that runs away with this thing. Cause it just has to happen now. It has to happen.
Oh, we got to bring up this too. I'm going to switch gears.
Yeah.
Can you believe Babcock, which I had to bring this up today. I can't let this go to next week. I wouldn't even sleep if I let it go to next week. Babcock comes back after how many years away from the NHL, right? Yeah. This scoundrel, okay, comes back, doesn't coach one game for the Columbus Blue Jackets.
No.
Why? Because he was getting players to show him their pictures on their private phones. He wanted to see who they were, what characters they were, or who they were, what they were all about. He wanted to creep their phones to see about if they were like doing anything weird. Like that's his business. You imagine this guy who's been away for hockey for how long? He went into the abyss somewhere. No one even knew where he was. All of a sudden gets called out. Then they said last week, oh, no. 1 or 2 of the older players said, no, he didn't do that, right? Then about 8 younger players ratted him out and said, that's exactly what he did. Jeez. We're not cool. We're not cool with it. And then yesterday, Babcock says, I'm a distraction to the team. I'm not gonna coach. Hasta luego. Back to Saskatoon or wherever you were coaching, guys hockey leagues or whatever you were doing over there. But how he got back in the NHL and then how he exited before even coaching again. This is the weird world we live in today, Jesse.
Absolutely, it is. Man, I mean, I think that's the end of Mike Babcock, to be honest. Like, I don't see it coming back now.
No.
I mean, it's over.
No, it's over.
The saga has ended.
The saga has ended.
Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Thanks so much, Nick, for joining us tonight. And thanks to our sponsors, Backscape, backscape.com.
And don't forget, everybody, Crystal Glass, your clear choice for all your glass needs. Call 310 Glass or go to crystalglass.ca.
Well, see what happens tonight on the games. There are games starting Monday nighters,
Two.
and yeah, doubleheader tonight. And so, yeah, good luck out there. Some of them really need it.
Yeah.
Until next time, everybody. I'm Jesse Martineau. That is Mark Pavelich. This has been the Me and Jesse podcast. We'll see you next time, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks for watching the Me and Jesse podcast. Follow us at facebook.com/meandjesse.